Hello and welcome to Focus on Africa. It's set to become the world's biggest economy by 2025. And this week, China begins the process of a once-in-a-decade leadership change. The country's new leader will be decided at the Congress of the governing Communist Party, which got underway in Beijing today. Let's take a look at what's going to happen over the next 7 days. Now, thousands of delegates will pick new leaders to steer the country for the next 10 years. The current president, Hu Jintao, is expected to be replaced by the vice president, Xi Jinping. Now, leaders will use this conference to discuss how to increase the country's economic influence globally, with its relationship with Africa particularly important. The China's spending in Africa is around $50 billion a year on infrastructure projects alone. A short time ago, I spoke to Focus on Africa's Noah Mwakugu in Beijing. I began by asking him why the makeup of China's cabinet is still a closely guarded secret.
It is a closest guarded secret because these are going to be significant changes. The speculation is that the number is going to reduce from 9 to 7, and therefore there have been a lot of power jostling between the leaders here. And that is the reason why it's still not clear who is going to become named as members of this cabinet.
No, obviously it is a significant change for China, but why is it important for the rest of the world?
It is important because in the next 10 years, China, the new leadership expects that the country will be the fastest growing economy, overtaking America. Therefore, it will have great influence in the continent. As well as that, it's not been a rosy picture. It's contributing a lot to pollution and therefore affecting the climatic change conditions. So the world must be concerned on the policies that this party is going to adopt during this conference.
Noah, we know that the outgoing leaders Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao have traveled to Africa many times. I mean, China is greatly involved in the continent. Do we know what the new set of leaders have as an agenda for Africa?
Indeed, this is likely to continue and even strengthen further. Perhaps the focus will now change, and it will not be only government-centered investments, but more private companies from China will invest in Africa. And as such, more products from the continent, from China, will continue to be sold greatly in big numbers in Africa, as I witnessed on the streets of Nairobi.
Downtown Nairobi is experiencing a Chinese invasion. Almost all electronic goods on sale here come from China, and the price war being waged by the Chinese traders has edged out competition.
Previously, we've been selling original items. Even today, we do sell original items. But according to the level of the people, the income of the people, now the Chinese came in, whereby it brought all the levels. That's where you see that the Chinese are overtaking the original items from other countries, you see?
The Chinese goods may have eased the lives of many, but this has come at a cost.
In most homesteads or household items, you end up having 10 radios from China and only 2 are working, or 10 phones and only 2 are working. So we end up having a lot of dumping. It's like a dumping site.
Critics accuse China of new economic imperialism, of trading roads like this for African minerals. With this in mind, upcoming Chinese projects in Kenya are being received with a lot of caution.
This is Sleepy Mui Basin in eastern Kenya. Things are about to drastically change in this remote town after the discovery of 400 million metric tons of coal. The Kenyan government has given the exploration tender to Fengxi Mining Industry, a firm from China. The project is yet to start, but it may not be easy as the firm expected.
We are concerned with the act, the Mining Act. That does not give us enough compensation.
Do you feel these concerns because there's a Chinese developer who has expressed interest in the project and therefore you feel we might be...
We don't mind who comes, but what we mind is who compensates us and how much do they compensate.
More than 500 families will make a huge sacrifice for the mine, and they are not taking chances.
Everything that is going to be done, they feel that they need to be involved in every stage, and especially on issues that pertains to the compensation for their properties, or their land and the properties they are in, and also they are concerned with what the benefits that they get out of the project.
Despite this cautious welcome, Chinese investors seem so determined to make inroads in Kenya. Noel Mwakugu, BBC News, Nairobi.
Well, joining me now is Abayomi Azikiwe. He's the editor of the Pan-African Newswire in Detroit. Welcome to Focus on Africa. With a new leadership change and with Africa growing in importance for China, do you think Africa's level of influence in China will grow as well?
Of course. I believe that this is an excellent opportunity for the African continent to engage in mutually cooperative projects with the People's Republic of China. We've seen the formation of the Conference on Africa-Chinese Cooperation, which has held 5 summits over the last 12 years. One was just held recently in Beijing, and a number of agreements were signed between 50 African states and the People's Republic of China. And I see even more opportunities for Africa and China to develop mutually in regard to economic
Abayomi Azikiwe, how much of this relationship is being dictated by Africa's interests? Because I don't know if you saw the last report. Noah was pointing out that there are many Chinese goods all over African shelves, but the reverse isn't true.
I think that Chinese products are making a big influence all over the world, not just on the African continent, because they mass produce and they produce at a very cheap rate, and as a result of the capitalist markets, they have been able to dominate many of the areas, not only in Africa, but throughout the world. But over the last several years, there have been more African-produced products that are now being marketed in China. So I think it's going to grow in regard to African manufactured goods being also distributed widely in the People's Republic of China as well.
But very quickly, do you think there is potential for a backlash as Africans begin to feel that perhaps this is a new economic imperialism and China clearly has its own agenda, which may not match that of Africa's?
Well, the character of the relationships are different. What we've seen historically in regard to the United States and Europe's involvement in Africa has clearly not been beneficial to the African continent. Of course, China is not an imperialist country. They're a socialist country, and of course, the character of the economic relationships between the continent and China are quite different than what we've seen historically as it relates to the Western countries and Africa, as well as the Western countries and China. And of course, with the Chinese economy growing, even now at over 7% annually, it far outstrips what we see in the United States, where they're actually struggling to even get 2% growth rate, annual growth rate here in the United States.
Right. We'll leave it there, but thank you so much. Abayomi Azikiwe, editor of the Pan-African Newswire in Detroit. Thanks very much.